I will just wait for a few seconds.
Sure.
All right, cool. Let's get started. Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's LinkedIn Live session on the topic Think Your Employer Brand is Strong? You might be losing the best talent. I'm Chavi, content manager at Recruit CRM, and I'll be moderating today's session. I'll mostly be behind the scenes today, and our expert will be taking the spotlight. Joining us is Alex Herr. Let me give you a quick introduction. Alex is a top talent acquisition speaker and the founder of Common Thread. Also, as GoDaddy's head of global employer brand, he drove record breaking campaigns boosting brand visibility and engagement. He's also recognized as Talent Brand Leader of the Year and a top 50 recruitment influencer. Alex is a leader in digital recruitment marketing. All right, welcome, Alex. Do you want to say a quick hello to the audience and a bit about what we'll be talking about today?
Yeah. Thank you. Well, hello everyone, wherever you're joining us from. I don't know if I'm an expert. I'm just trying my best to get by and to share the knowledge as much as I can. But today we'll just be going into just all the things that I've observed in the market that will help you have a strong employer brand. Some things may work, some things may not, and some things you may look at and realize, okay, hey, why didn't I think about this before? But just here to answer any questions that you have and just run through the session. But please feel free to reach out afterwards if you have any additional questions.
All right, awesome. Yeah. With that, let's get started. Before we dive into the questions, I want to let everyone know that towards the end, we'll also open the floor for your questions, like Alex just said, for a live Q&A. So throughout the session, if anything pops in your mind, just drop in the question in the chat and we'll pick them up towards the end. All right, let's get started, Alex. So, Alex, my first question for you is in 2026, what has fundamentally changed in how top talent evaluates opportunities?
Yeah, I think it's changed quite a bit because people are not just going to your career page, your Glassdoor, Indeed, your Naukri company profile, wherever you may have some real estate. People are more comfortable with AI tools such as ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. So they can do that research right there. So I think that puts a lot of responsibility on whoever's maintaining the career page, whether it be your employer brand team, TA, or marketing team, to not just look at what they have from a SEO perspective, but also looking at GEO and making sure that you're actually sharing quite a bit for job seekers to glean off of, and because that's a lot of that stuff will be there in the search results when they're doing their audit. Should they be doing that, which I highly recommend, and looking into companies. So there's a lot more work to be done on our side to give the job seekers much more to look at.
All right, Alex, my next question is why do so many companies struggle to stand out and even when they offer competitive benefits and competitive pay?
I think it's too much of a copycat approach. I mean, every company wants to, be like the FANG companies, some of the innovative ones like Spotify, and I think I think what they have to do is look deep down inside and realize you're not those companies, right? Nor do you want to be. I mean, I think it's great to be as successful as they are, but you have to establish what makes you different because not everybody has the money of some of those big companies such as Google or Apple, but maybe you offer something that is unique. You offer a full remote work environment, a flexible work environment. Maybe there's great benefits that you offer to individuals in the form of a sabbatical once they've been there for a while, or towards parents, or towards pet owners. Those are other great benefits that I don't think get highlighted enough. I think people and companies just assume that, okay, people are going to go to the career page, they'll see that, but if you don't make that appear as a great benefit to someone, it's not going to be great to them, right? So I think looking at what makes you different, what makes you stand out, is really the key to competing against those other big companies that are out there.
And Alex, how does what does living your brand actually look like in day-to-day hiring?
You actually have to do more than what your EVP says, your tagline, all the phrases and cool marketing stuff and branding stuff that you're putting out there. Like how are you living that out in the candidate experience, right? So from the first touch point, how am I? Are you if you're saying, hey, you know what? join the family. Well, treat me like family then. I mean, that's probably a terrible example. I think some companies do a good job with that, some don't. But I think from the first touch point, when I get that email, does it sound like it came from a robot? Is there a personal touch to that? Is there their graphics? Are there any sort of videos? Am I hearing directly from a recruiter, or is that an automated message? Because that kind of lets me know as a job seeker, okay, are you really about this? Are you just trying to check the box? Are you just sending out automated messages? And then from there, are you keeping me warm in the process, right? How's that going? And then outside of that, when the recruiters and hiring managers are speaking to individuals, do they really speak to some of the stuff that I've seen as a job seeker, and the adverts and the organic post on your life pages, what I'm seeing on your Glassdoor, your career page, is that happening? And that does matter. And then I think outside of that, like, what are people sharing on their own? Because if they're really living the brand and you have natural ambassadors, no matter how big or small your company is, are they truly, like for example, us here at GoDaddy, do people post on their own and say, yeah, I love the GoDaddy life? Or are they just sharing, different things that maybe I'm sending over to them, right? Like, because I want them to share what their experience may be. And so you want to have that with each and every company, with the brand and how they're actually living the brand. They should be about that. They should be excited about it. I mean, that's kind of a something you can do a quick audit on for any practitioner in the space. But if the employees there are really about that and they're truly embracing things, I think it would naturally show.
And Alex, how can recruiters uncover and articulate an authentic employer story instead of sounding generic?
I think just given like, really leaning on actual experiences that they have with the story. I mean, because I know for me, if I'm talking to a recruiter, and I would expect any job seeker to ask that, like, just really dive into what they enjoy about the company, what makes them unique. Hearing, hey, we're great, or we're a family, that just, it doesn't give me much to work with, nor what I think it would give another job seeker to work with. I think highlighting, okay, like what does that employer do? Like, do you get like wellness days? Do you get the ability to have maybe like no meeting Fridays, or how has your employer helped you out maybe in a time of need, or a time where you just felt like really valued as an employer? I think some of that stuff is key, and hearing that actually does more for you versus being very generic.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. And what are some common mistakes companies make when trying to use storytelling in hiring?
When it's too fabricated, when it just doesn't sound real, it's too polished. I think that does more harm than good. And by that, it's okay if you're just being, not necessarily all polished, but like too safe with it. I think sharing where maybe things, in terms of storytelling, where things didn't go right, right, where they did go wrong, or where things may be challenging. I think that is something that is, to me, it's more eye opening in a good way, because not every company is a 5-star Glassdoor company. I think that's really quite fake in my opinion. There's going to be pros, there's going to be cons. There are pros and cons, whether it be across the entire company, individual teams. That stuff does matter, but I think really being transparent about that goes a long way in sharing it.
And Alex, how do you align leadership, hiring managers, and recruiters around one consistent brand narrative?
Well, that's a conversation definitely to have behind closed doors, but aligning on exactly what and this is probably more on the lines of when you're putting your EVP together, if you're starting from scratch, or if you are rebranding and going that route, it is to align on what you truly are, right? Because I think everyone wants to be super aspirational. You want to sound amazing to job seekers, but that's not always true. Nor is that really the experience that maybe a director has that experience, but maybe someone who is a individual contributor does not have that experience at all. And you have to align that to ensure, okay, hey, listen, This is what we may want to be. What are we now, and what maybe be in a couple of years that is realistic, right? Because if you're shooting to be, a place that is super innovative and you haven't embraced AI, kind of tough to lead forward with that. It's going to be very inconsistent with your brand narrative.
And Alex, where does transparency make the biggest difference when it comes to attracting top candidates?
I think into knowing really what they're joining, what they're diving into. Because I think if you are, telling everyone that you have you're inclusive, you support diversity, you have a massive budget, or teams can travel wherever, you can, pretty much have, you know, uh, zero oversight in what you're doing. That person kind of walks in expecting all that, right? But I think if you say, "Hey, listen, we're working on things. We are a flexible work environment, but maybe we're lacking some things when it comes to gym benefits. Maybe we don't travel as much because we feel that cross collaboration actually works better, and it's actually much cheaper to do that online." Be honest about those things, but also be honest about what the true expectations are with the goal. I mean, sorry, not with the goal, but the job and the goals that are behind that. Because if someone, a job seeker is looking at a JD and they're looking at, okay, what is required, what does success look like, they want to know that, right? And it has to be upfront, and you have to be true about that. It can't be something where you say, hey, in 6 months, the goal is to set up AVP. I do that, and then you also expect nine other things. That sets up false expectations there.
Right, thanks, Alex. And what
Sure.
small changes in candidate experience create the biggest impact?
I think just having that human touch. I mean, having that human touch, when it comes to the comms, but also been seeing a lot of great examples of, whether it be competitors or just other companies in the space, really infusing AI into what they're doing. Perhaps like just offering, maybe if I'm an entry level salesperson, what does that career journey look like? Or sharing these steps in the process, being open about that, because I don't think there's anything worse than knowing, and I'm speaking from experience, knowing you're interviewing for a job and find out there's 8 interviews that are involved, and there's nothing about that. You were never briefed from the recruiting coordinator, the hiring manager didn't share that with you. There's nothing on the website. There's nothing you can find on Glassdoor, and you're stuck there guessing. Like that's probably the worst thing. Just be upfront. If you seriously want to have 7 to 8 interviews, put that out there on your career page. Have the first point of contact, whether it be the recruiter or the recruiting coordinator, say, "Hey, listen, this is what we do. There's a method to the madness." People can respect that. They don't have to like it, but you're being very transparent, and they will respect that in the long run.
And Alex, how should recruiters design a candidate journey that feels intentional from first touch to the offer stage?
Well, I think it's something. I wouldn't say it's on the recruiters. No, it should just be on the recruiters specifically. It is something that I think they should be collaborating on with. If you have a candidate care team and employer brand team, or if they're combined together, as well as your ops, your coordinators, and I think it matters quite a bit to align with the hiring managers, because it's no different than creating an employer brand in a silo and expecting everyone. Your previous question up there was about that in terms of how do we have a consistent brand narrative. Well, if you're not working together on the back end, you're not going to have a consistent candidate journey. It's going to be disjointed, because the expectations that the recruitment team may have in TA is going to be vastly different than that of the hiring managers, because you're not aligned on that. So I think working on that, designing exactly what success looks like, what one should actually expect, because if the hiring managers can match the expectations, I think everything works well. So that does have to be done, but just definitely not in a silo on their own.
And Alex, how can you measure whether your employer brand is truly resonating with top talent?
Look at if I would say if you're doing it correctly, one be don't just look at your native dashboards on LinkedIn, TikTok, Meta. There's much more that can be found looking at your Google Analytics or your your career page, your CRM, CRM slash sorry CSM, wherever you're managing everything, analytics there, but ultimately ties back to Google Analytics. I think looking there and seeing, okay, there in your ATS, do you see a lot of traffic coming from the work that's being done by job boards, referrals, or do you see a lot that is coming from your employer brand? And by that, there's a plethora of things you should look at. But to start, I would look at and see who's coming there directly, because when someone is coming there directly, when you look inside of Google Analytics, that tells me you've done a lot of work when it comes to an organic, paid, and advocacy perspective, where they've seen enough about your company and they decide to type that in, right? Which is very telling, because they could click on an ad, they could do something else, but if they're seeing that, they've seen a lot of what you're doing. From there, if you're tracking correctly using UTM codes back to your ATS and Google Analytics, you are able to obviously the other thing you want to look at is what are the where's your playground, right? Are you posting a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram? Is that showing as some of your top sources? Because if it is, great, that stuff is working. If it's not, that tells you, when you're looking at your monthly business review or your QBR, we got to do some work, right? Because we've been experimenting with something here and it is clearly not showing an ROI. So that is a problem there. On top of that, I would, moving over to your ATS, I'd look and see, okay, well, you're putting all this, let's say if, Google Analytics does check out, are you converting? Is that converting to an applicant? Is it converting to a hire? But not just that too, because I think hires is great to have. You also want to look at, the steps of the process in terms of your hiring, the candidate journey, right? Because it's great they're an applicant. Hire would be ultimately amazing, but in between, what's the quality of that source? Are they getting to, is the applicant from that source, let's say LinkedIn, if they're getting DQ'd like 99% of the time, that's probably not where your talent is at. So maybe you should go elsewhere. Maybe Reddit is the option. Maybe advertising on ChatGPT is an option as well. But there's a lot that you can look at that will show you, are you doing a great job or are you doing a bad job?
All right, Alex. And we're living in a digital-first world. And which channels matter most for building credibility with candidates?
I think LinkedIn is one you have to be on. Everyone has different opinions on the platform. I still think it is it's a necessary evil if you look at it that way. I mean, I love being on there, but it's hit or miss when it comes to candidates. But I think platforms such as because a lot of what we do is meeting people where they're at. So I think so much gets tied into people who are super aggressive job seekers. That's not where you want to be. You want to be where the passive job seekers are at, and where they're at is not where the jobs are at necessarily. So I think for if you have it available, TikTok is phenomenal. You will get a lot of traffic there. Definitely high when it comes to if you go the paid route, when it comes to the CPC and the CPV, but then I still think it's a great option. YouTube Shorts is another good one that I think people sleep on. People forget that YouTube Shorts is it's their version of TikTok. It's been around for years. It is a great option. It's not banned anywhere, so it's something that people should look into. I think also really diving into your Google search display and keywords. I think it's too understated in terms of how people value that, but it's one you should be looking at, making that the first option when people are looking for you and your company. I also think that on top of that, I've been experimenting a bit with Threads. I don't know if that's necessarily the best spot, but I think Twitter for engineers is really good. Twitter/X can be a little bit toxic in a sense, but I think it's gotten cleaned up, but it's still a spot where engineers are at. Then I think if you can dive into to GitHub and to Stack Overflow, looking at those threads there as well as Reddit, those are great spots for anyone to be. And then on top of that, not necessarily a social network per se, but looking at some programmatic wherever you can find that, I think is a great thing to really blend into your strategy.
And Alex, how can recruitment teams scale hiring without losing the personal touch that we keep talking about?
Well, you can scale with AI, but you should still have humans behind that. because I think there's a lot of companies that have made the move over to AI completely. I think there's things that you can get some efficiencies from that, but I think you still have to have a human touch to keep the messaging intact, make sure it's what you want it to be, make sure that actually the process and everything works the way that it should be, because the AI is only as good as the human behind that's training it. So never lose sight of that.
And we've touched a bit on this, here and there. But I want to ask, what role does technology play in strengthening and not weakening employer brand?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think so. Let's go towards weakening. I think AI is probably the hottest topic right now, right? I think AI can definitely weaken your employer brand, right? If you put too much there, and you're just accepting everything that is shooting out to you, whether it be GPT, Claude, or Gemini, then I think it does weaken your employer brand, because you're not ideating anymore. You're simply accepting what it's shooting out. But where that can be a strength and an advantage is, at least the way that I look at it is, AI is a tool where I can converse with someone who has an understanding from all the stuff that I've been training it with, and just ideating on, and it's like talking to someone who I highly value as a practitioner and peer, maybe who I can't talk to right now, right? That's where AI comes in, so I can say, hey, listen, what do you think about this? I've worked on several different adverts and strategies, but I want to do something else that's different. Give me some options. What's good? What's bad? What aligns with what I want to be doing? And that gives me a huge advantage that I didn't have before. Outside of that, I think agentic AI is going to be huge. Agentic AI, whether it be fully formed, authentic agentic AI, or if you go with the companion inside of one of the many available AI options that we all have, that works, because using that technology there to actually do something that you probably don't want to be doing anymore, like small mundane tasks that take up a lot of time, that frees up your ability to be more strategic. And I'm all about doing that. Not getting rid of the writing and designing piece, right? But how can I speed that up to get further ahead, to work on better campaigns that really give candidates a better insight into, what my employer brand is about. Like, that's where I think technology does play a huge part. Outside of that, also, AI, when it comes to the form of like editing videos, is huge. I think there's peers who want to just work necessarily with old school products, which is great, but I think when it comes to employer brand, we're wearing many hats, and we're running at 1,000 miles an hour. So we have to find the best solution for us that still keeps the quality intact, keeps everything the way that we would want it to be when we present that to the outside world in production. However, we want to speed up that process too.
All right, thanks, Alex. Just one final question before we dive into questions
Sure.
from the audience. Can you share a real world example where a strong employer brand directly improved hiring outcomes?
Oh yeah, I can say it's with employee advocacy. It without giving very very specifics away, but it has worked. Having hiring managers actually get on camera and share that, where we can amplify that across our big group of ambassador slash advocacy members, that has worked in delivering countless applicants, countless hires that have been quality ones, right? Not just that, too, having that actually show up on the back end to say, hey, because I think it's easy to look at employee advocacy and say, hey, it's because a lot of it, I mean, if you don't dive too deep into it and know your numbers, it can be more qualitative. uh, Definitely have a quantitative here, and it's been extremely helpful. I mean, I can't say enough good things about employee advocacy, and I would encourage anyone who is watching, who's listening, look at that. It's very easy to do. There's a huge impact. I know it's always a struggle to get teammates on board, hiring managers and recruiters, but test that out. A/B test, throw some stuff out there. I'm sure you'll find something that will work. And if you need some help, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to help out.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. I think those are all my questions for you
Sure.
for today. Now we can dive into some questions from the audience in the Q&A. All right, so
Sure.
anybody in the audience, if they have any, if you guys have any question, you can drop in your question in the chat right now. We actually have one question from an audience member. They're asking, how do you handle negative employer brand perceptions or online reviews, and can they be turned into a positive?
Yeah, I think they definitely can. I think well, for one here at GoDaddy, we respond to every review. I think it matters. I come from a typical customer service background from way back in my younger years, so I think that does matter. But in terms of what you can take and turn it into a positive, there's a lot of great things. I mean, maybe someone gives you a review, and it could be a good review, a bad review, but they will likely highlight in there, okay, what was one thing they loved about their experience. You can't change how the experience went with their hiring manager, or maybe other situations, whether it be flexibility, remote work, or benefits, but did they highlight something there that they did enjoy? And if you see that being a common theme, then take that. I mean, you could take that, run with it. If you either work with hiring managers and say, hey, let's hire managers in HR, let's see what we can do to maybe amplify this or showcase that more in the hiring process, or maybe make it a selling point in the when we're talking to folks in interviews. And also on the employer brand side, okay, if we see enough of that, how can we take that? Can we turn that into a video? Can we turn that into a graphic, a blog, a story? There's so many different ways you can do something. I'm a big firm believer, and I was talking to my good friend Chris LeCan Harwood out of the UK about this, is that I think when your mind is always so content driven, there's always a little bit of info you can get, especially from a review. And it may seem, like just a small piece of data and text that just sitting there, but I think there's so much you can do with that. And you're selling yourself short by not even looking at the possibilities of using something or just amplifying it in different ways.
All right, I love that, Alex. And we have one more question.
Sure.
What tools or platforms do you recommend for measuring the effectiveness of employer branding efforts?
Um, I mean, you can't go wrong with the one free tool on the planet that we all have access to, which is Google Analytics. I think that does a lot for you. I mean, and outside of that, if you use deep research on ChatGPT, it is something that everybody has access to for a certain limit. If not, you can pay a very small monthly fee. That will help you scan everything. So stop wasting 4 hours going through that. If you're doing an audit, do a nice deep research. You can go through Blind, Glassdoor, Reddit, any other sort of website you can think of. And if you want to know exactly, like, be very specific about your prompt, how are we doing, like what your brand sentiment is, that will give you everything there. I mean, I'm not going to share with anybody something that I have not used or have not seen success with. So I would say do that. You'll find out quite a bit about where you are at, where you need to be going, or how bad you're doing.
All right, thanks, Alice. I think those are all the questions we had. With that, we can wrap up the session. All right, thank
Sure.
you for the amazing session, Alex. Do you have any closing remarks for the audience before we do a final conclusion?
Yeah, definitely. If you're an employer brand, candidate experience, or internal, external comms, I would highly recommend you join Common Thread. It is a free, we don't charge, Discord server community. So we have folks over there, over 700 plus from around the globe. There is a channel for each and every person. It's something that I personally message in and manage myself. So reach out there. We'll be launching our website here soon. And then aside from that, if you have any employer brand questions, I'm not just here to answer them on camera. I am more than happy to connect with you on LinkedIn, or have a one-on-one session to help you ideate and just go through everything, because I think it's my way of paying it forward. I've got a little bit of knowledge, enough to be dangerous, and I'm happy to share that with anyone who's interested.
All right, thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, and with that, we've reached the end of our session. And yeah, like Alex mentioned, don't forget to connect with him on LinkedIn and check out his company, Common Thread. I've dropped all of the links in the chat right now. You guys can interact with it. And in case you'd like to learn a bit more about Recruit CRM as well, feel free to visit our website. And if you want to check out the product, you can book a demo or start a no commitment free trial as well, where you can experience it firsthand. Do follow us on social media as well to stay updated on our upcoming LinkedIn Live events and other events, and also upcoming collaboration with Alex. And you can find all of the links in the chat right now. And thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to see you again at our next event. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.